Do you want to?
Hello and welcome to Cinema Toast Crunch, where we take a bite out of the films that we saw in our screen studies class. I'm Jack Walls. As per usual, I'm joined by Ruth Meehan, Georgie Larkov, Sanvi Singh, and Jacob Berman. I got your names right. Ha ha. And instead of doing the cereal question, instead of asking what we ate for breakfast,
you spelled your name wrong, so does it even count?
Shut up. You know what? Okay. What are you for Halloween then? We'll jump right into the question of the week.
Okay, fine. So the costume is like sad right now because it's not inflating. I'm using, but it's a shark that eats me. I'm literally like my way of inflating it right now is doing this.
Woo!
Wow.
Yeah.
Bruce is dead.
Just
Bruce the shark. Let's go up because I put it in vertical view. Sanvi, who are you? What are you?
I am Candice from Phineas and Ferb.
Oh,
That's awesome.
I love her and I'm embracing her. I am her.
Georgie, I don't know where to start.
Well, I'm actually your mind's astral projection.
Definitely. I'm definitely editing some music over Georgie's costume. I don't know what to do.
It's the X-Files. No, it's
I can do the Jaws theme that I'll have Phineas and Ferb, and then it's just like fucking techno music.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Darude Sandstorm.
You know me
Darude
so well.
Sandstorm.
Yes.
Oh no.
So I can take myself last. Ruth, what you?
I am the fairy. You can interpret me as the blue fairy from Pinocchio or Silver Mist from Tinkerbell.
Did you see Del Toro's Pinocchio?
No, but I actually talk
unfortunately.
about Guillermo del
Unfortunate.
Toro
You should do that
a little
like
bit
right
later,
now.
but that's for later.
You can. I'll give you permission to leave the meeting to watch that movie. It's so fun.
I will watch it later.
And I'm Jotaro Kujo from part 3 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders. You wouldn't know that because I wear this jacket anyways, and it's not black and leather.
It's not.
You make do with budget, okay? Listen.
Jack,
Speaking of making
That's a
budget.
Listen, of course I'm a JoJo's reference.
Okay, darn it. Okay, speaking of making do with budget, this week's film is Night of the Living Dead, directed by George A. Romero, and it was made in the US in 1968. And we're just talking about how indie movies and how even though they're low in budget, that just creates more opportunities, not less.
So I was promised a minute to gush about this. Guys, I fucking love this film. This is the zombie film. Like, I remember getting into horror. Not like, a moderate age. I say as if I'm 32 right now. Yes, I'm 32 in my mind's eye. But no, this is one of it's for lack of a better term, it is one of, if not the granddaddy of the zombie genre in cinema. And the fact that it started off as what it is, and then it spiraled into this whole franchise, getting remakes, and we ended up with Land of the Dead and Tarman. Someone get a picture of Tarman. You guys don't need to know who that is. There will be an image, maybe. The point is, this thing is great. I love it. It's campy. It's delightful. And looking back at it, I can totally see, wow, this was, and I mean this with the most love I can muster, cheaply made.
And I looked it up. The budget was $114,000 to $125,000. And in the box office, it made $30 million.
And I'm just gonna scale that for inflation real quick. Give me a sec.
One of the most insane profits for a movie ever. Enter the Dragon, 850,000 budget. Box office, 400 million. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's a fun.
And like another Halloween movie that has one hell of a budget ratio is, I don't know if you watched it, but I watched Rocky Horror Picture Show last night.
Oh well, someone did a time warp again.
I was there to help run that actually.
I got a Kit Kat for my roommate.
It was quite the experience.
That's all today, folks. It's Halloween weekend.
Yeah. All right. So without any further ado, let's talk about this thing.
Ooh. All right.
Damn it, I forgot to reference They're Coming to Get You, Barbara, somehow. I forgot to mention that line.
To get you, Barbara.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's start off with setting. Where exactly did they film this?
On an actual abandoned farmhouse. I read about it.
Mm-hmm.
Weren't you saying something about that, Ruth?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, this cookout is amazing. Not being professional at all whatsoever.
Yeah. Okay, maintain the image. I remember they were going to wreck the thing, right? It was like actually decommissioned. They were going to topple it, and then Romero sort of he didn't step in, but he's like, "Hey, why don't we do this?"
Mm-hmm.
And
Rented it, yeah. They rented it, so it would be free for them to do whatever they wanted with it. So
and what they
technically, it
decided
had
to do with
only
it.
3 settings. The graveyard was in Pennsylvania. The
Mhm.
house, which was like already supposed to be demolished, and the field that's outside of the house. And what's crazy enough is that everything was just so local and so camp. The
Mhm.
zombies were actually the locals of the
The
town.
locals.
They didn't know how like crazy it was gonna be. They were just like, "Oh my gosh, we're in a movie," and that's it.
Yeah, and I gotta say something. A lot of it really Romero used a lot of guerrilla filmmaking techniques, like he used in his commercial and industrial work. So he had sort of been familiar with making things for cheap, and that absolutely shines here. I have to say.
Because like,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think the transition from the different locations throughout the film really helps them make use of the set. Because they don't have much of a budget. Oh, sorry, were you already, or did I use the bad word again?
Yes.
Oh. Well, but
I'm
like,
glad we have
okay,
bleach. I'm
so
glad we can censor.
like beginning of the film, middle of the film, and then end of the film, you have 3 different locations essentially. Actually, even more, and it's all in one place.
For circumnavigating the queue.
Yes.
Yeah, it all takes.
And the use, I think that's a really good use of their set to really maximize what they can do with the movie, considering the low budget, among other things, of course.
Like, it's the fact that they had so little that allowed them to do so much.
Yes. I was actually gonna talk about that. Like I was thinking about like with the fact that you have so little, you have to make like use of every single thing. Like I was just thinking about like a stupid like a small little thing. I can't remember what exactly it was. I think it was a little like those like boxes with the ballerina dancing or something. I don't exactly remember my thought process at the time, but I remember thinking, oh, you know, when you have like barely anything, you make use of every bit of
Yeah.
it.
I remember a few weeks ago there was, and this is related, sort of not side tangent. It's related. There was a smaller sort of game publishing studio, and one of the pieces of advice, it was very down to earth. They were lovely people, and they mentioned that for making sort of small, like mid-range indie games that
What game?
it was New Blood Interactive.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know the guys who did Ultra Kill, another fantastic game.
You know they came to Clark, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It did?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I own their entire library.
Yeah, I was there. And they mentioned one of the things. It was fantastic is that a lot of the some of the best things come from not from what you can do, but from what you can't do. How like your
Mhm.
limitations can be your biggest strengths, and sort of like, you don't have the budget for this. Okay, you can work around. Say you have it's, and again, like, I'm sorry, I'm starting to sound like a broken record. I just love this
No,
thing.
like it's also passion. It's also
Yes.
like this movie brings to the table. It's not like, oh, we're gonna make something different because it's different and because like we want to be known forever. None of them were expecting that. They scraped all the money they had. It was the collaboration of 2 different studios. One was a sound studio, and fun fact, it was actually owned by the businessman and his wife in the movie. They were actually producers for the movie. They were some of the producers, and it
There
was
were two. Are we thinking?
yeah,
Which
2
ones?
different studios who collaborated, and they were like, we like this movie. We have this concept of a monster, so we're just gonna go with it, and we're gonna give it all we have. And and like, even if you're low on budget, in the end, like that passion to create something, and like we're not gonna create for like an agenda, but like they did have an agenda, of course, which we will go into, but like
Yeah.
also like out of love of creation itself.
Very Tolkien.
Mhm.
For the sake of this, since this is a horror movie, I gotta talk about one of my favorite things: practical effects.
Mm,
Oh my goodness, the
Mhm.
prosthetics for zombies, the makeup.
mhm.
I mean, there's a lot more sort of questions like, oh, did they overdo it in the sequels like Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead? But this one, it's a lot more simple. It's a lot more sort of just it's people looking gaunt and actively just decrepit instead of like, oh, here's bits of flesh peeling off their skin. It's more just people that they look like fresh corpses, fresh
Mhm.
dead people.
The fact that they were just standing there scared me more.
Yeah.
And if they were
Listen,
like, oh my
listen,
god, brains.
listen,
No.
in
Mhm.
horror, it's things like silence and just
Mhm.
idling, waiting there. It's the reason that, especially in games, stalker villains do so well. Like Pyramid Head, Mr. X. There's a reason like the sort of silent stalkers that just do follow and or even just stand there in the background. They get you. It's really
Gives
effective.
more credit, in my opinion, to the house because
Mhm.
it's that silence, that suffocation, and that's what made that jump scare with the zombie just like put his hand through the window. I don't
Yeah.
know about you, I screamed. I
Ooh.
screamed. I jumped in my seat. I did not expect it at all because the setting itself provided that tension. It didn't need to be stated. It was just created.
I like how this
I
establishes the DNA for the horror game genre more than the horror film genre, actually.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
I think that I think a lot about both the Resident Evil, obviously, the just like
Mhm.
forcing the player into tight corners constantly.
Mhm.
What do you say, Jack?
Sorry, I listen, I love Resi. I hate fixed camera angles. I will never be able to get past that.
Wait, fixed camera
I
angles in the original are like, is it good in practicality? No. Does it make it all the more scarier? Yes. It's so cinematic. The the idea of having to move the camera to be able to move the player is it's brutal, but it makes it so much scarier. And I think having a house and separating it into like two sections, it feels very level designy.
Yeah, the difference here is that the protagonist didn't have to go through weird puzzles of like, oh, move this statue just a bit to the left, or find a key with a spade on it.
That's like also one of the reasons why I love this movie so much. It didn't know it was going to be the grandfather of The Walking Dead. It didn't know it was
It
going to be
didn't just influence like a genre of film; it
zombies.
influenced like it influenced like a genre of horror in and of itself, or a subgenre.
Yes.
It, which also brings me to the actors.
Oh,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. It was okay. So I researched this. I looked it up because and I looked it up on some articles, like especially like about horror movies in the 60s,
Mhm.
some reviews from my favorite horror movie content creator, James A. Janice from Dead Meat. Please watch.
Yeah, welcome to the Kill Count, where we type the victims in our favorite horror movies.
No, he's the best guy ever. And so
He gets
the
the-
thing about the casting of Ben, he originally was written to be a white man, but then the
Oh.
director saw him perform and he was like, yeah, you know what? Why not?
He's good.
He was the best. He didn't cast him for any agenda or anything. It was just because he was the best. And the thing about Hollywood back in the day is that regardless, it was still very segregated. A lot of people were just pushed to this stereotype. And then they were just like, oh, you technically do have representation. It's just this very specific type of representation.
Because the funniest
think-
thing to me is the every single horror movie there's the black guy where it's like he's the first one to die.
Yeah, we all know the
And I
stereotype.
was like, well, it did a good job breaking that one.
Okay, but Nate, how many horror movies do have the black guy as the protagonist?
Yeah,
That's exactly
yeah, I
what,
think
yeah.
it's really cool.
No, for me the big thing is like the
the
lost idea of just have because I genuinely think this barely exists anymore, is having someone cast not just for the sake of representation, if they're in a minority. It's like a lost part of the current film industry.
And it was and casting absolute unknowns too.
Yes, like sorry, continue.
No, you
Yeah.
you go here. I've
You
got this.
Like when the film started, obviously I went in with like no previous like prior knowledge to it, and while I was watching it, I was like, do I not know these people because it's from the 60s, or like they're genuinely unknown? And then I actually looked it up, and I was like, well, that's one of the very cool things that I like thought. And also the first like coming back to like the zombies and like how they were all locals, it felt so natural, and it fit like it just, they did not have to be like trained actors. It's just like it made it so much like more natural.
And like there's diversity within the actors, not only because he's African American, also he's a theater actor. He is a stage actor. You know elements about stage acting, like when he tells her how he got to the house, when he tells Barbara how he got to the house, he paints the story of like, and they were just standing there, and I was in a car, and I tried to drive through them, and I heard them, and then I couldn't hear them
Yeah,
anymore.
it feels less like you're hearing lines and more like you're actively like,
Yeah,
okay,
part of the
this is someone
story.
saying
Like
this shit's
that's-
happening.
and
Mhm.
it just grinds my gears nowadays. Like if like when you hear a voice actor, you're like, oh, I know that guy immediately. It's Chris Pratt. Give voice actors actual jobs, please. That's literally the profession. Stop
Except
putting,
Yuri Lowenthal, he's done enough.
please.
I
Please.
think
Chris Pratt in
it's-
every animated movie.
I think it's definitely worth talking about how it's important to bring out new and uprising talent, you know, because we have all these actors that we already know, like you said. But if
Yeah.
you have random actors that maybe didn't do anything before, it's a chance to have some sort of creative thing going on.
I know that Spielberg in his earlier films took the same approach. With Jaws, he wanted to make sure none of the three guys were big stars, and then they became big stars after it.
And like,
Yeah.
in fact, Tom Holland, he wasn't a big star either, but then he became Spider-Man, and then all of a sudden he became a megastar.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and now he's trapped in the Marvel. Loop,
Yeah,
but that's
you
not the
now
point.
listed the two main characters of Pixar's Onward. Wahoo!
Mhm. Oh my god, yeah, I just realized that Tom Holland and Chris Pratt are the two
Chris
main
Pratt.
voice
Yeah.
actors for Onward.
Yeah. Okay, back to the here so
What?
my favorite and least favorite part of the movie, my that encompassed my very short letterbox review, which here
You made a Letterboxd review?
yeah, I do for most movies. Uh, here was my letterbox review.
The Dutch angle button.
Bro, I have never I used
Okay,
to think
just
like the
or the
highest
steady cam
count.
while you're at it. Okay, whatever.
I used to think the highest count for like Dutch angles in a movie would have been something like Do the Right Thing, and they're all very thematic. Here they just throw. I don't. Has everyone seen that movie? Because if not,
No, but I have met Spike Lee.
you've met Spike Lee.
Wow.
You haven't seen Do the Right Thing. You're actually throwing, bro. That's like top best movie ever.
Hey, listen, don't hate the player, hate the game.
No,
Hey
I-
Jacob,
no.
can I actually cut you off for a second if you don't mind?
Yeah, no, but I've one sec.
Oh my god, did Georgie make a Letterboxd review too?
No, I was just gonna comment about the camera work, you know?
Yeah.
How it
no,
ties
it's
into
just
the
like
whole
I've
budget
never seen
push.
so many Dutch angles in a movie, and it just like I was like unfazed by it at a certain point, and the point of a Dutch angle is that you notice the camera work, and
Yeah.
it was kind of wild.
I think actually the way the Dutch angle stood out in this particular film is because so much crazy stuff is happening. I think they actually, instead of being visible, they kind of add to the atmosphere because they kind of show
Mhm.
this intense emotion and actually.
No, I think it's very fun, and I think that it adds a lot to it. It's just like
There's so
for
many
me,
of
it was a
them.
little bit of oversaturation almost.
And guys, one thing I noticed is whenever they're not like I think before the middle section of the movie where they're still in the house before they start attacking the zombies, it's actually like really slow paced, and you don't
Yeah.
really see much crazy stuff. But
I-
then the moment the action starts, it goes super fast, and you see all these crazy angles.
I think
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think of the best parts of the film are actually the opening and closing scene.
Oh.
I
I'm
think
actually sorry.
which I
I'm
know most
yeah.
people are gonna disagree with because like less you don't get the house and all the tension, but I think that opening scene is so fun.
Actually, I was literally just gonna talk about that because my favorite scene is the opening
Yeah,
scene.
it's great.
I just love how
Damn it! I
there's like
could have said the line now.
No, I just I'm gonna combat that. Sorry.
okay,
Rotisserie
but like
hams.
hear me out. I just think like it just first of all, I love how there's like no explanation for why the zombies are just there. Like you just
Satellite.
oh yeah. Okay.
Huh?
But okay, but like the scene where like both of the sister and the brother like they're quarreling, and then you just see the guy lurking in the background, and I was like, that's the zombie right there, and like it's so like it's so random. Like you
It's
don't,
also
you,
kind of
it's
goofy.
Yeah. I like how we were talking about in class. Oh, the whole point is that you don't show off the scary thing for a while. Nah,
Yeah.
you did it 5 minutes in here.
Yeah.
But he
I
showed off
feel like
And
a
the
lot
guy's
of
but
just
it
like
wasn't showed off in a way that was scary.
exactly like he was just like
Yeah.
chilling in the background. Like it took me like a second. Like I saw him, and then I saw him again. I was like, wait, is it the zombie? And then when she like walks like and like I saw like and then I started paying attention to him. So like as this like scene was changing, like he kept on getting closer and closer, but in such like a non-threatening way. Like it's not like in your face. It's like, oh no, it's a zombie. No, she literally walks up to him to apologize. That's when she's like, it's a, I mean, he attacks her first,
Yeah.
but I
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
love how, and like it felt like it wasn't like somehow it just felt like the perfect start for me.
It
Yeah.
isn't like supposed to be like this is scary, be scared.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the tension. The
Yes.
my like no tension is my favorite part of any horror movie, which is why like
It's my favorite and also one of my least favorites sometimes. In a bad horror movie, tension is the worst thing in the world in my opinion. That's just my take. It just feels like you're waiting at that point. I think
It's capitalizing
how
on
you
jump
treat
scares.
tension in your horror movie makes or breaks it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I would actually say I kind of didn't like the opening as much as the rest of the movie because
Oh come
I
on!
felt
You
like
got
the
the
en-
ridiculous like
They were
comic
coming to get you,
femme
Barbara.
fatale.
the lines were great,
Or
but the
the
zombies,
comic
I think,
damsel in distress, like just
Hey,
unable to
Georgie
do
have a
anything.
son. Let Georgie have a
Sorry.
I think the zombie when you see the first zombie, it almost kind of because it's a '60s zombie, it almost kind of looks goofy to me. But then when you
Yes.
see them in a
Yes.
Yes,
group,
that's why I love it.
Yes. Exactly. Like
but
it
that
just
that
shows
kind of
how
distracted
This
as
my
a horror movie. It kind of distracted from my sense of being in a horror movie. It feels very
Well, within
maybe
the
it was
first
on
5
purpose. Maybe
minutes.
that's why it's great.
Yeah,
I
I don't
just-
think
But I
it
feel like
was.
it's
I
very
just
tongue in
feel
cheek.
like it just shows how you know how low budget it is. Like the guy doesn't even look like a zombie. He's just
sauntering,
like
he's
just-
minding his own business
I
in the
can do
back.
it. He's just like,
speaking of like the low budgeting and like
Mhm.
the funny parts that happen, I cannot get over that score. I looked it up. It's not stock. It's not
What
real.
I
It's stock
what I found
music.
It's stock
interesting was
music.
I can tell that because I'm like, if it's a low budget movie, why did they have so much music? And then I looked it up.
they
Yes.
didn't.
I was
Like
like,
the
"Oh, no."
amount of music.
what I found interesting though is after that first goofy zombie, when you see the zombies in a group, it suddenly becomes a
Yeah.
lot more believable.
Yeah.
You also
Which
get
I
a-
think is
you
very
also get a
interesting.
naked ass woman.
Mhm.
Oh, that too. That would be a good shock factor, you know?
Yeah, shock factor. That's what we'll call it.
Shock
Well,
factor.
you know, you can call it what you want to call it.
Okay.
But
It
yeah.
just
Um,
Mhm.
can I talk here I'll talk more about the zombies and that I think one thing that's cool or in terms of establishing like zombie movie DNA is the I don't know if you guys have seen Zombieland, but there's the whole thing about the double tap.
The double
I
tap.
love
That's just a horror movie rule at this
Zombieland.
point.
Yeah.
Always go for the
No,
head.
here they
Always
have a
go for the head.
triple tap. Yeah, the always go for the head thing. talking about cool people we've met, family friends with Max Brooks, who's the World War Z writer.
Oh,
He writes
oh.
like he's like zombie obsessed, and I'm sure he loves this movie.
That's funny because Romero actually worried that World War Z was sort of like the death of the zombie film as we know it. That's
Oh yeah, no,
Hey,
he
I
wasn't
liked
involved.
it.
He wasn't
yeah,
involved with the
with the
movie.
book. I know the book.
Oh, the
Mhm.
book. Because but
Man, I liked World War Z.
and,
Yeah,
like,
It was
he-
good.
like these international filmmakers, like the two really good like modern zombie movies. One, Train to Busan.
Mhm.
Ooh, amazing.
Two, Rage.
Oh.
I'm still like hyping
No,
myself
he,
to watch
no
Rage.
Shaun of the Dead reference.
Shaun of the Dead is
Oh,
Yeah,
come
What
on.
the heck? I'm like 28 days later.
Shaun of the Dead, best zombie movie
it
ever.
literally is. It's so
28
fun.
days later.
28
Oh, yeah,
days later
28
too,
days later
yes.
is
You're right,
good.
Jack.
also. Days
Yes.
later. And oh my gosh, wait. Also like I forgot what it's called. It's Rec, REC. It's like where you follow like it's like a found footage.
Oh my god, yes, I
all-
know.
And they're trapped in it. It's also international and it's like it's in a foreign language. And I'm like, thank
I
you.
didn't know you knew about this one. That's one of my
Oh,
favorites.
Wreck, yeah, like it got a bad American like Quarantine. That was the bad
Yes,
American
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Quarantine.
Yeah.
yeah, I
Okay.
remember.
Yeah. Like in my mind, I'm like, that's Quarantine isn't the name of this movie.
No,
It
it's
was
the American version of it, which
Yeah.
isn't as great.
America.
Do we want? Screw it. Let's talk about it. We're at that point.
Wait, can we just take a pause because we got 4 minutes left? It's the error.
And
You called
George-
yourself out on that one.
No, don't worry. I can call Georgie out because I can see my
Yeah.
reflection in. No, yeah, hi.
Hello.
The slander does not stop. Okay. Where? I mean, I know where we were, but for the sake of a framing device, where were we?
Who was gonna go first?
No, first it was Georgie. You had the
Georgie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought I would transition the rest of you guys by thinking about the second floor body that we saw in the film.
I was so
First
confused by
was-
that every time I saw it. I was like,
Mhm.
who the fuck?
Yeah, this is just like
Yeah.
they tried to do a good jump scare. I was not
It
scared,
wasn't
but
even
I
a
was like,
bad
what
one. It
is
just
that?
raised more questions to me. Because, like,
Yes.
that means
Confusion scare.
yeah, because it means like, hey, does that so was she dead? Like, did something kill her? Because there
Yeah.
wasn't any sign of intrusion.
Exactly. Are
Good
you like
point.
rotting? What is that? That's not a zombie. That's definitely a person. But how long has
Yeah.
that person been
Dog?
there?
like
Yeah.
did she just like die of a heart attack and just bit the dust and then bam?
But that being said, the zombies also should have some better, finer movements. Like you see him throwing rocks, pulling on the doors. So it's possible that the doors were unlocked and there was just no real intrusion, no
I'm thinking
breaking,
of the
just
raptor
entering.
in- no, I'm thinking about the raptor in Jurassic Park.
And I think this raises some further questions about what kind of techniques this film uses to cover up its financial setbacks.
What financial?
When we
set-
first see
what
the body,
new
its
techniques? It was
its
already-
face is horribly mangled, and they give us a straight, extreme close-up of the mangled face.
What is it? It's covered in
Mhm.
chocolate syrup, ketchup. What is that?
Ooh, I
It's
want to talk about
syrup.
that. I do
Absolutely.
want to talk about that. Yeah.
And then
Hershey's.
when the protagonist then drags away the body in a carpet, we see for a split second the face of the actress who was that body, which is not mangled at all. And while it's kind of hard to notice, I think that reveals about all the little shortcomings the movie had to make up for its finances.
Yeah, but it's forgivable to a certain degree. I mean, there's a lot of discrepancy errors in there's a lot of errors in a lot of goofs in The Wizard of Oz, which is a
And like in Game of
Classic.
Thrones, the Starbucks.
coffee
The
cup.
Starbucks.
Yeah. It's like a
And there's-
multi-million-dollar franchise.
there's like I can there's several goofs in everything. The fact that that was
Yeah.
one of the few noticeable ones, I think, also speaks to like the love and care that was put into the film.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think in the case of this film, it plays to its strengths instead of its weaknesses in this case. It makes it more interesting.
Oh.
I just
Sorry, I just
Oh.
wanted to know the adjective you used to describe.
God,
Okay, sorry. Sound beast.
yeah,
intriguing.
intriguing. Well, I was
Uh,
just thinking about how it's so funny to me how like low budget films are just, and this is like on such a like huge level. Like the other day when we were watching the film that students in Clark made, and how they actually got like so much blood, like gallons of blood for their film. At the same
Mm,
time, this one, they did not. They did not
no,
care. They were like, chocolate?
slap some Hershey's on it. We'll be
Yeah,
fine.
You literally use
exactly.
chocolate syrup, and that's like
They
so.
did that.
I mean, that makes sense because it wouldn't appear on the footage. Like color didn't
Mhm.
matter that much.
Color did not matter, and they used it to like such a good advantage. Like I don't think like other filmmakers, like big filmmakers at the time, would like think about stuff like this. It's just so like it just seems such like common sense. And there was a scene where the brains were being eaten, and
Yeah,
that was their lunch.
the part with the gas pump where Judy and
Yeah.
was it
Yeah.
Tom, I think? Yeah, that's a
The
fucking glorious explosion, by the way.
yes.
It's horrible and it
So-
makes it feel so bad, but it's glorious explosion. Just
Mm.
seeing all of the zombies pick up the limbs
Mhm.
afterwards, just
And the
Aren't you
full
kidding?
dedicated they like dedicated a full minute, like half a minute.
Mhm.
yeah, it feels
It's
weird. It
around-
feels
yeah.
perverse. It feels like I'm seeing something I shouldn't.
Yeah. I
And-
felt the same way until I read about it, and it was apparently they had lunch during lunchtime. They had hamburgers and a lot of other meat. And you know what they did? They used leftover lunch and put some Hershey's on it.
That makes me feel even worse.
wow.
Hey, I don't want to have burger
It's
Yeah,
just
patty.
Here's a bologna sandwich and slap some
yeah,
chocolate on
here,
that.
just a
But that's why the
just
guts in the
feast on
movie
it.
look so delicious.
Don't say that.
I
People
was
are gonna
just so
ask questions.
confused.
Georgie.
Like it just
Well,
like
I'm
it
just
just played to
saying.
their strengths, but at the same
I'm
time,
just
I'm
saying,
like,
man.
it just makes it super uncomfortable. But at the same time, like that is so brilliant. It is
Oh, no,
amazing.
it's good. It's
It's like
fantastic.
as a college student and as like pro film majors, we're gonna be making films, and I'm like, I am literally like looking into this
Taking
film.
notes.
Yeah,
and
taking
this
notes
inspired
already.
and this
Oh.
inspired the career of one of the great practical effect artists, Tom Savini. Any of y'all know that name?
Mm.
I do not
Okay.
originally.
Oh well, fair enough.
That's
He's done big shit. Things like I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
Oh, I
Struggling a
love
bit.
that movie.
Yes, big shit. Best film I've ever seen. No, Tom Savini.
Dawn of
He's,
the Dead. Night of the Living Dead remake.
Oh,
no, Night
now
of the Living.
that
No,
makes more sense.
well, yeah, but other things like Creep Show, From Dusk Till Dawn,
Oh,
Maniac.
yeah.
This man is so many things.
And I
It's-
wanted to add on to Sanvi's point,
Oh, Friday
like-
the 13th.
like less is more.
Mhm.
It's more impactful if you do it less.
Yes.
For instance, like the cast, it's like if you don't include the zombies, like the main cast, it's like 7 people. There's Ben, there's Barbara, there's the couple, there's the child,
The
there's
child's barely on screen though.
and the child is barely on screen, so him down. I'm not gonna include Johnny because Johnny bites the dust.
Johnny, bye bye.
Johnny gets
Barb-
brained by a
That's
headstone. That is
So
Dom
Yeah,
Rolamus
that
kill
is-
goes to Johnny.
Exactly. I was about to say, like, imagine there's a zombie apocalypse and you
And you
get
go out
killed by
by
a
fucking
headstone.
bump your head.
Yeah.
The way the movie is able to make the characters impactful is by dragging out the runtime, where it introduces different characters at different times, slowly, kind of drip feeding them.
Mhm.
Except for Barbara. Barbara's just
Barbara's just been there. Barbara
She's
is
just
the-
having
Just
a
been there the
psychotic
entire
break.
movie.
like
She's
I don't
having
care
a psychotic break.
how y'all feel about the rest of us. I'm a Barbara. I'm a Barbara. If
That is not good. So you're saying you're gonna have a psychotic break and do nothing to help the team?
girl bye.
That's
No,
an outro.
thought it's so real. I thought it's so real. Like we're
No,
not
it's fair.
all
It's fair.
dead.
It's
Okay,
fair. It's
to
fair.
To be
They're
fair,
coming for
her
you,
brother just
Ruth.
died.
No, absolutely.
I'm one of the I'm Johnny.
Real.
No, I don't think it's very rare that despite being the token white male, I very rarely identify with film characters, honestly.
Well, I mean, you're not the token white man.
Maybe. I don't know, still.
Well, I mean, like you're not any closer, Jack. I want to be honest. Like maybe if you hadn't noticed.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Okay, let's move it along to Jacob.
Yeah, okay, so I want to talk about I think the story structure, my personal favorite moment thinking about the 9 points was the second, I guess, what point of action or whatever, words not coming out. Okay, where the moment where the second like inciting incident where you realize uh everything you knew is wrong, um that doesn't revolve around the characters, it revolves around the house when they're told to leave, because they're like, oh, on the TV station they're like, stay inside, stay inside, then the next time they turn it on, leave. I think that's a very fun flip on its head, because and stirs up a lot of the chaos with the the car fire scene and whatnot.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know another thing? I think what's interesting is there's this kind of Jawsian elements of the movie where a lot of it is determined by people's actions and attitudes about things.
yeah, like Jaws was a tale of how ego, or at least I saw it as a way of how ego gets in the way and how fighting over like, oh, I know best gets people in more trouble instead of just actively looking
It's
at
about
the clues.
responsibility.
Well, in this case, they literally die because of that.
Yeah.
But, like, that's why
Two
my
of them.
favorite scene isn't one with zombies, but with between two people.
Ben
in
and what the
like-
hell's his name?
the businessman and his wife.
Was it Tom?
Yeah.
Like when she
Oh,
says,
okay.
"Oh, that's what really matters." Right?
I'll just say it.
He's right.
Tom is not. Tom needs to find another industry. Acting is not good.
Honestly, I
Joe
think it was
cannot act.
okay.
Ate it up, though. We kind of ate it up. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be that hard on Tom. It's okay.
Harry,
No,
it was
no, no,
Harry.
no.
It was Harry, I think. It was Harry,
Mhm.
Harry?
I think. I double check.
No, who's the couple who both died in the car? That was Tom, right?
Oh no, that was like, oh my gosh, my brain.
Okay, no. Okay, I'm wrong. Yeah, Tom and Judy is the car couple.
Yeah, that's
It's
what I was
Harry and
thinking.
Helen. Harry and
Harry
Helen.
ate it up.
Harry
I
and
never-
Helen.
Yeah, no.
Okay,
that
so you
that
got
scene about what matters more, survival or being right.
being right. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, being right does help you survive sometimes.
Yeah.
Like if
No, it led to, well, okay,
I
his
said
death wasn't
sometimes.
exactly his fault because he just got shot by it. That was the most morally gray area by far.
Mhm.
Actually, no, I was just fucked up in my opinion. He really, like, I get it. He's being a really annoying asshole, but I still wouldn't shot him.
Yeah, but I mean, I would try to shoot him non-lethally personally, or at least just. I would have knocked him. I would have given him head trauma. That doesn't sound good, but there's no better way to say that.
I thought you were about to be like, I'm gonna give him head, and I'm like,
Listen,
I am
Yo.
cutting that. I am cutting that. Okay. Thanks for giving me
giving us a
more work.
are you gonna just
Or
cut
I
out the
just-
trauma part and be like, I'm gonna give him head?
No, I'm not cutting.
So
we get it. I'm bi. We don't need to rub that in. We
Back
get
to
it's known at
Georgie.
this point.
Back to Georgie.
I was gonna say I think Dan in the film is a pretty interesting character with how he does things physically generally. He just kind of acts.
Yeah,
I think what the movie really did great was the contrast between the different characters.
Mhm.
You have Barbara sitting on the couch, paralyzed.
Doing literally nothing. Yeah.
You have Dan
Catatonic,
just getting his
essentially.
hands on everything, kind of being almost manic, you could even say.
Mhm.
yeah. It is like frantic, trying to clean everything, get it all to order, so they can make something
Yeah,
of the
and
I
situation.
think it's like trying to like keep together like the principles
normalcy
of
there is.
society that society has given you. Like,
Yeah.
this is the principles we were raised on, and that's how we're gonna survive, etc. And then that falls to shit. Like,
And I actually
Last
think
is
Dan
fine
was
with that.
patient with Harry. before he shot him. He gave him
Oh
many
no, totally.
chances.
There were several chances.
No, he gave him too many
So-
chances personally. Like the moment he shut me out, I would have been like, okay, it's on site. It's
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
site.
like-
The thing
I'll
is,
take
though,
care
I
of your
get that because on one hand, you don't want anything else getting in, but it was absolutely due to it was just a personal grudge.
Mhm.
He was just like,
It's
oh,
not.
leader.
I would
and-
say it's not so much of a grudge, but more of his worldview.
Frustration.
He's just afraid, and he cannot let go.
I feel like, yeah, Ben's presence definitely threatened this. Like it went from ally, like he's not an ally because he's a person. He's an enemy because he's a person who thinks differently than I do.
Or
Yeah, and
it's
Mhm.
I would
subtext.
say
So-
Ben while Ben gave Harry many chances, in the end of the day, Harry was just so much of a
Asshole.
gave so much trouble that it was just not worth it, you
No,
know,
he was
to
set in
keep
his
him
ways. He
basically.
wasn't gonna change.
Mhm.
And it ties into this narrative where, you know, about being right versus just actual collective well-being, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ben wants to have everybody be okay together, but then Harry wants to be right. And Harry will die doing that. Not
Yeah.
because he's an evil person in his nature, but because that's just the way he thinks.
Like
Mhm.
he's just willing to die on that hill. And that's why my favorite scene goes to the basement scene, where he's having a conversation with his wife about being right. Last but not least, Jack wanted to talk about the ending.
I think we all. Who doesn't?
Well, that's true, but like they're the ones who like, yeah, I want to talk about the ending. And I was like, okay, we'll
Yeah.
put you last.
So here's the thing. The ending. The ending. Who here had some nice sense of like what the fuckery?
I was probably the least shocked, so I shouldn't talk.
Oh, I mean, I expected. I
Oh.
knew about the film.
No,
I
everybody.
I mean, this is
everybody
my
knew
first
that
time watching
He
it.
was not gonna make it.
I
Mhm.
tend to like Eastern European movies, so I saw that one coming.
yeah.
Okay, we're all.
But the fact that the thing is that sparked a lot of a lot of sort of like social,
Mhm.
not discourse, but like there's still talked about today whether there was interesting subtext of whether like, oh, was this to make a point about how America and its racial divides, and with that and
I'm just gonna say no.
Originally, no, because like
Uh,
the writer envisioned Ben to be a white man, but
Yeah.
like
Mhm. Yes.
the fact
Yes.
of the facts is a film is not only its writing.
Yeah.
It's mise en scène, it's its setting, and where is it, who's doing it,
buzzwords,
how are you
nice.
doing it, and it's because
think-
that Ben happened to be a black man. Like that's when like those implications are like immediately assumed, and I don't blame that. I
Yeah,
don't
and,
think
and
that's
and to be
wrong.
fair,
Yeah.
Romero actually said like it wasn't his intention, but he sees that, and so the
Mhm.
later of the later Living Dead films have a lot more sort of political subtext
Mhm.
or just overt subtext. If you look at things like Land of the Dead, which is absolutely just talking about it's a direct when the poor have nothing left to eat, they will feast upon the rich allegory. But
Mhm.
the thing is, I think it really plays well with Ben and Harry's dichotomy, because then with that sort of potential viewing of like, oh, is this sort of an allegory for race divide? You think of, is it because that Ben's taking charge and upending his way of life, or is it because Harry perceives that as a potential threat?
are you talking about his death specifically?
Oh no. I'm just talking about like their whole relationship throughout the film.
Well, I would say it's a lot more simple, actually, from my perspective. I think it's just Harry refuses to give up his nature, and it's actively causing danger and death to others. So Ben just decides, well, the only way to keep myself alive and for the best interest of everybody, I'm gonna cap that guy.
Okay.
That's kind of how it is. I feel like
is
even though
kind
you
of-
can read a lot into it, it's actually quite simple.
Yeah.
In the end, it's just like survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
And that's cruel twist of fate. Ben did survive.
And
But
he was the
that's
fittest.
He was the fittest, but that was until the white men came along. I'm kidding. No, that's not. That's interpret
I
it. You can
mean,
interpret it that way, I'm not gonna lie.
I
Like,
think
mhm.
it's less of a survival of the fittest and more of a indifferent universe type of beach, you know?
Yes, yes.
It's more of a he was the last one to survive, but it doesn't matter in a
No one
world
was
where
making it
he's
out.
just
Listen,
another number.
the thing
Mhm.
is, Harry
Mhm.
kept talking about it like staying safe in the cellar. Ben kept talking about it as if it was a death trap. The fact of the matter is, the moment they walked in there in that house, the whole thing became a death trap.
Mhm.
And I could talk about how it
Agreed.
aids to like sort of a
Mhm.
breakdown of any sort of potential final girl loop, which we talk about from time to time here. The whole point is sort of like there's nowhere to go in there.
Mhm.
And I think that only helped tensions boil over between the characters. So when I'm thinking about it, there's really there isn't really any other way that the film could have ended satisfyingly, if you ask me.
Mhm.
Can,
Like if I were one of the gunmen, what would have I done? Would I have been like, let me go check if anybody's in there and friendly?
No,
No.
you're not gonna chance
No.
it. You're not
I'm
gonna
not
Nah,
gonna
you would
chance
have
it.
pulled that trigger.
Yep.
Mm.
It's okay.
And
We get
that's
another
kind of
black
the crux
protagonist
of the
in Dawn of the
movie.
Dead. We get
um,
another black guy in Dawn of the Dead. We're okay.
I-
Okay, sorry, Jacob.
No,
I interrupted
no,
you.
I just wanted to say I love the attitude that the I don't know the military I don't know exactly what to call them
We'll call
had
him
one
the guard.
The
Guards.
marshals.
Marshals, yeah.
the marshals, the guard, the military, whatever. I love the attitude they have once they kill him like nice job done here, gentlemen. You know, that kind of thing. Reminds me a lot of I don't know if you guys have seen Inside Out, the dad, like at the dinner table when he's like when he starts a huge fight, he's like crisis averted. Great job, everybody.
Reminds me just of the military complex.
Mhm. I thought you were about to talk about like how he was like, we were in a band.
Well, that movie is phenomenal. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And just
Yeah.
the utter disregard that the marshals had for any of the actual situation, not knowing
No,
any of the
but, like,
nuance.
They did have regard of that, which
Tom
makes
and Judy, Ruth.
Well, it's
Tom
like-
and Judy.
when you think about it, like this is literally their job. They are supposed
Yeah.
to do this. They are
Yeah.
supposed to make it safe. If you
Also-
like it's like how exactly can you react to the situation too? There is
Yeah, who
There-
am I kidding? I'd be trying to joke it off
Yeah.
too.
it's so easy to say there's a right and there's a wrong.
Yeah.
Because like but if it were our decision to make, we probably would have made like
We would have listen, the whole thing sadly could have been solved with just a few more double taps. And that's how it got solved in the end.
mhm. So
Mm.
Cinema Toast Crunch. I kind of want to sign up on this sad on a sad end.
You know,
Like,
fun fact
then
about
let's-
this
okay,
film.
then we can go to
Wait,
conclusions.
no,
Final notes
yeah.
then. We can stop
Fun
for
fact.
time.
No. Name one movie with a happy ending that we've seen besides The Big Sick.
Mother Jaws.
Jaws,
No.
yeah.
No, the guy dies. One of them
It's okay.
dies.
Bye. No, it was the
Mm,
poor
they,
one. It's
they still
fine.
make it out in
Who
Quinn
cares
Jaws.
about
died,
It
the
has
poor
a-
Quinn
died?
died because of his own
Jacob,
ego.
In what universe? Okay, sorry.
Not a happy end. Oh no, wow.
I like
Have
to
we not?
think. Okay, I'm deluding myself that like oh my gosh, I almost forgot its name. Like the one about the storm, the piss storm.
It's motor
Okay.
oil.
Oh,
No,
you know
actually,
it's motor oil,
oil.
right?
unironically, Take Shelter has the happiest ending out of
Take
the whole-
I feel like it has like a happy ending because they're like, okay, we can face this mental illness, but take shelter, yeah. We can face
Yeah.
this mental illness without
Or
like
does it?
Don't do that. Don't do that to me.
That's
Don't do
true.
that to I
Yeah,
had a
no,
breakdown
That's
during
kind of the thing about Take Shelter.
that's one thing I notice in every film class I take. A lot more sad endings. You'll see.
mhm.
nuance, bitches. I don't know.
Well, look, objectively, I think Jaws did have a good ending.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
sure.
think it's
Yeah.
a happy ending by seeing
Actually, it's a bad ending because it means we got sequels.
seeing Robert Shaw die is really- even though that's basically my costume, so I can't talk shit, I guess.
Fuck it, Quint.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, that'll be us for tonight's episode of Cinema Toast Crunch. Happy Halloween. Be good people. Don't be Barbaras. Thanks for hanging with us.
Oh, shots fired.